And welcome back, everyone, to the Triple O Show with Aziz and Nate, or Ben Simmons, Danny Green, whatever you want to call us.
What's going on, y'all?
NBA season is slowly approaching. I was looking on my TV, and there's a preseason game next Saturday.
What?
So we're
Oh my God! All right, I'm marking the calendar, man, because
we're
that's
days away.
yeah, that's big news. That means NBA season always creeps up quicker than I feel like most other seasons.
Oh, for sure.
But man, it seems to hit me quicker every time, so can't be more excited.
Definitely. So
Y'all can hear it in my voice, obviously.
so ready. So we had some big news that happened this week. A little Kawhi 2.0 situation going on. Jimmy Butler had a meeting with Tom Thibodeau on Tuesday, I believe, and apparently he wants out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is another one of those situations where this might shift the kind of the wave of the league right now. Considering some of the teams he's looking at, I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is another story that we gotta follow pretty closely. I think some big things could happen.
So I thought him and Thibodeau were supposed to go way back, back to the Chicago days. What do you think?
It's a shame.
What do you think's going on,
Dude? I'm wondering if D Rose is still one of Thibodeau's golden children too, because that guy has just run every one of his stars into the ground. Historically speaking, we've seen the historical minutes that these guys have to play each season. And so obviously just sticking with that formula for year in, year out for, what is it? This is going on year 5?
I think so.
Yeah. That has got to be tough, man. I know that puts a strain on the relationship regardless of if y'all have some solid chemistry. So I know Jimmy's not the only guy on the team feeling that, but I'm getting a sense that in combination with, some other lack of chemistry with some other players, I don't think he's hard pressed to leave.
So you don't think the Luau Deng signing did anything?
Not at all. We have the Chicago TimberBulls. It really is like a family reunion, but that formula again is what makes Thibodeau so flip-floppy to me.
Yeah.
You can't just keep bringing in the same guys, play the same sort of game every year, and not allow them to adjust. And look, we know Luau's on his last leg. D Rose has got one leg, and a few other of those guys, I don't know if they're going to be wanting to stick around for more than another season. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Kirk Heinrich to get a call.
Man, seriously, Joe Kim just left New York.
Right.
It could definitely be a revival.
Getting the band back together.
Man. Now that actually, you know what? Let's try to push for that. That'd be fucking awesome.
Reunite the Bulls. I feel like Tom Thibodeau is probably in the meetings. Like, look, Jimmy, it could be just like 2014. We've got Derek, we've got Taj.
Yep.
We're getting the band back together. It just interests me so much because I don't think Tom Thibodeau's a bad coach. I think he doesn't invest enough in developing players, and he has this hard set system of we're going to play our 7 guys between 35 and 40 minutes a night. I don't care about the draft picks. They're not my draft picks, so we're just going to play these guys. And like you said, we can see it takes a toll on them. Like we said, Luau Deng, no one said he was going to be a superstar, but
right, he degraded quickly, man.
But can you even say that? When's the last time you've seen him on the court?
Even in Chicago.
Okay.
You see these players, and I'm not going to ever be one of those guys that's going to say, look, the D Rose situation was Thibodeau's fault. It was a matter of circumstance.
Right.
But, again, you could evaluate a lot of situations in which guys just did not need to be on the court. Guys were clearly frustrated being on the court for that amount of time, and it just began to deteriorate their play over, the course of a couple seasons. But to your point, I think he actually might have an ego.
You think so?
Yeah, man. I think he has this like Popovich. I'm this like protege of Popovich where I can still demand a certain type of respect of my guys without wavering.
Right.
And to me, I don't think he understands the art. Like Popovich has an art to that approach.
He gets the most out of his players, and Thibodeau tries to get the most out of 3 players.
Yeah.
You know what this just made me think of? Like you say, like, there's an ego, but he's very stubborn in his ways. It kind of reminds me of Georgia Tech football, where you've been running the triple option since 1942, but you got, Oklahoma.
Worked a little bit for you, right?
It does, but like football has evolved so much. You've got all these spread offenses and quarterbacks throwing for 500 yards a game, but they're like, nope, we're gonna run the ball 40 times and we might throw it 3, and it's gonna work. Like you gotta adapt.
Y'all can hold on to your traditions, man. That's the only thing going next to your old trophies.
It's 2018.
Seriously, yeah, and again that comes back to you evaluate the type of players Minnesota has. They have pretty, I'd say, modern day caliber type players on their team. I mean, Cat is the prototypical. So to not be able to maximize those type of talents there's something wrong there.
Right. So what do you think as far as Jimmy Butler and the potential rift, or that he's saying that Cat and Wiggins don't play hard?
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and just say maybe Jimmy Butler has some really high standards. Now, look, those guys are very young, and they'll have to learn early the amount of work they got to put in. But that's also where some mentorship, to me, comes in. If you can influence them the right way, then they should kind of follow suit. And Jimmy maybe doesn't have that ability. But, hey, he is a workhorse. Like, if he says people don't work, he probably really means it.
I definitely believe
and so I think he's just tired of that being his situation each year, where there's no one that's at his caliber of work.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's why it's a little questionable to me, the teams he's looking at. Obviously, we talked about just the financial component and bringing in some high salary guys.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. If you can't make some chemistry or some progression in how you guys evolve as teammates with a guy like Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Towns, I'm not going to say it's just Jimmy's fault or just Thibodeau's fault. There's something else that just has to be another
something
component.
in that culture of Minnesota, not necessarily to say they're a bad organization, but something, just not clicking there between the players, like I said, and I believe Thibodeau is not only the coach, but he has like a GM role or something as well. And that's always tricky when you have the coach that's also making, personnel decisions. Personally, I think Karl Anthony Towns plays hard. I don't know where this, conception is coming up that, he doesn't play defense. I'm pretty sure there's some, advanced metrics out there that says, he's one of the 5 worst post defensive players, but I don't believe that.
I don't see that, man. He's got to be one of the better help defensive players in the league.
I think he plays hard. Now, Wiggins, on the other hand, I could kind of agree, because you can tell, like, he has his moments where it's like, okay, he looks like he can be a top 10 player. He's got the length, all the tools, but then there's some days where it's just like all he's trying to do is shoot 15-foot pull-up jumpers.
He's just out there.
Yeah, he's just kind of out there. Like, he strikes me as one of those players that doesn't really understand how good he can be, and that maybe be one of the reasons why a Jimmy Butler is so frustrated, because it's like, look, you've got all the tools, you got the athleticism. Like, if you would just put in that effort, you could be, so much better or effective than what you are right now. And it's kind of a tough love situation, because maybe him getting on Wiggins just like, oh, why is he talking to me like this? But Jimmy's like, this is for your benefit,
right? But
it's also going to benefit us as a team, and it's basketball, but it's also a job, and you need the best out of your coworkers, to put the best in for you. So I think the Andrew Wiggins criticism is warranted, in
probably
that
justified. Yeah, you could see that. I mean, that was even one of his sort of criticisms in college coming into the NBA. He's kind of a reserved guy. And, again, I think Jimmy probably had some expectations coming into Minnesota that he could perhaps push those guys to the next level.
Right.
And them not responding it would be pretty frustrating. But, are you at all surprised that he's requesting a trade this quickly?
I honestly, well, at first I am, but then when you take a step back and look at the climate of the NBA now and how much more power the players are giving themselves, as far as I'm not going to wait until, I'm a free agent.
Right.
Or for the team to make a move, I'm going to, push my way out, a la Kyrie. And to a degree, Kawhi, even though he didn't go where he wanted to go, he still, managed to get himself out of the situation. So from that aspect, I wasn't too surprised, because it's like, hey, the players are understanding they have a lot more power, for their situations than they do. So,
yeah, and certainly to kind of get that in preparation before the start of the season would be ideal. But we'll see, man. So, what do you think about some of the teams he's looking at?
So, I just want to say, before we get into that, do you think there's any way they can salvage this relationship?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's ever a situation, unless something personal has happened, that you can't bring guys back to an understanding. Now, if that takes maybe some players deferring to others and kind of, pushing your egos aside as well, then that may be what it takes, but I don't see that coming from Thibodeau.
Yeah, no. And then, the way they've got, I feel like the locker room is probably definitely divided. There's the TimberBulls side, and there's, the young guys. To your point, there is some personal rumors that have been going around. We'll talk about that off camera, though, because I don't want to spread any fake news. There is some rumors that have been going around on the internet that have involved Jimmy Butler and another teammate. So we'll talk about
Spicy.
that. Yeah, off camera, because like I said, I don't want to throw any fake news out there.
You might as well mention it, but
nothing's confirmed.
Okay.
But so,
all right, well, Taj, I'm sorry. All right, we'll cut the commercial.
But so these teams that he requested, so the three teams were Brooklyn, the New York Knicks, and the LA Clippers. So
yeah, a bit of a different landscape in each of those teams.
I think the one thing in common they all had is that they have the cap space to sign him and then also an additional guy next year. But aside from that,
not too enticing.
Not in my...
Yeah. And man, I mean, a lot of it, I think, again, comes back to what has happened earlier in the summer. The timing is a bit strange. I think he'd be still considering teams like OKC or LA, if those options were available. But I don't know, man. New York, to me, out of those three, is the best fit in the long term. They're obviously targeting Kyrie, pair up of him, Jimmy, Porzingis, and I'm even potentially throwing KD in there just as a good night. That makes a little bit of sense, and that's also a city and a team that demands a lot from their players, so that fits the culture for him.
So I think the potential deal that they're rumoring on the table is something along the lines of Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, and maybe a draft pick, or I believe Courtney Lee somewhere in there. I think the one thing that I was looking at as far as the deals is, when you're trading a player that caliber, you're never going to get back, the same or equal amount of talent. So you just
look at
gotta,
fucking Chicago.
Right.
Oh my God. You're right.
Well, you guys got Lauri Markkanen, and he was online trolling about that. So you can't.
That's true, man. I mean, you evaluate what you can work with now, maybe down the line.
I think New York would definitely be interesting, and then especially with LeBron leaving the East, the whole landscape just changed, and it just seems like it's wide open. So every team kind of seems like they're one or two players away.
What about Brooklyn? I mean, who's even on that roster?
Jeremy Lin's gone, so you got your boy D'Angelo Russell.
You're right. Is my boy Karis LeVert still there?
Yes,
Okay.
but from what I was seeing, a deal for Jimmy Butler would involve something along the lines of Karis LeVert, maybe Spencer Dinwiddie or Rondé Hollis Jefferson.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
But I mean, that's definitely I do like Karis LeVert as well. I think that it's definitely an upgrade if you can get Jimmy Butler. From that perspective, I'm like, I don't, at first it's like, why Brooklyn? But then it's like, okay, you're going to get there, you're going to get paid. Maybe you hang out with Jay-Z,
Yeah, dude. All those perks that they were flashing at you when the team was formed.
And then the team's not that well, so it's like, hey, you win 40 games and make the playoffs. That's an improvement. Like you're a hero in Brooklyn. So
again, I don't think that's what he wants, but still to have the cap space, to have the potential to bring in some other guys.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, man, and this is a topic for another video, I actually think it's harder to influence guys to come to a team with you. For whatever reason, I'm getting a sense of that in the past few years.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like players have that individual, I control my own destiny type situation. I'm not reacting to someone else's move.
I think it's definitely a lot different now. I think in the past it was a little easier for guys to say, hey, I'm going to go here. Where are you going? Guys are talking in the summer at, rec games and the Olympics. But like you said, now the players are a lot more, self-aware of the power they have. So, yeah, it is a little more difficult to say, hey, I'm going to Brooklyn.
Right.
What are you doing in a year?
I don't know, bro. Call me then.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird, man. So that's why these guys do take a gamble, and they end up, leaving another team in 2 years. So
gotta get that. Hey, as Jalen Rose says, keep getting the checks. I ain't matching.
Well, all I know is we lost him in Chicago, man. He's never coming back. So
I think the last destination I believe was the Clippers, which had DeAndre Jordan not left, I feel like I could have seen that. Like, it makes a lot more sense. And it's just sad because the one thing the Clippers were always missing was a small forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like you were finally going to get him when everybody's gone.
Yeah.
And I feel like in some sort of deal, you're probably going to have to give up Tobias Harris, which, he's younger. I don't know if he'll ever be what Jimmy Butler is, but for what Jimmy Butler is now, and I think Jimmy Butler's probably hit his peak.
I'd say so.
As far as player, but he's still going to be effective, I believe.
Yeah, still top tier player.
Yeah, but I feel like he's hit his peak, and probably on that team, the same production you'll get from Jimmy. I feel like Tobias, maybe not all the way can give you the same thing, but with the combination of players that they have, it'll probably be the same.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that guy is a productive player.
Yeah.
Regardless of what team he's on, so that would be, to me, a bit of a disappointing flip. I'm not serious. Him and Aaron Gordon, I feel like somehow could have been a weird, nice combo.
Oladipo was on that team, Alfred Payton.
Yep.
Anyways.
Okay. We'll have another show about our most recent disappointments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see that being a very enticing destination based on the roster. It would just again be looking to the future. And that's what's so confusing to me is why just go to another team, maybe struggle for another season or two, and then create an opportunity to bring another guy in. Just prolonging the inevitable. Nobody's beating Golden State.
Right. that not this year.
No.
Anyway. And the thing that I didn't realize that was interesting was all the teams that he chose are on the coast. So he was probably like, I'm tired of living in Minnesota. I want to play 40 minutes a night. It's cold. Like, get me out to the East Coast or the West Coast, and let me at least live it up. And with my, $28 million.
Right, my penthouse will be decent enough for me to cry in with all these losses. Yeah, it's interesting, man. And Jimmy's honestly, since his days in Chicago, he's one of my favorite players. Just respect the hell out of his game. So I'm hoping it ends up being somewhat of a win-win for both Minnesota and him, because I like Minnesota's construct. They have a really nice young group of guys. who aren't going to be there for much longer if this keeps going on.
Yeah.
So
I believe they offer Karl Anthony Towns an extension, and he didn't sign it. So, okay, so we went over the 3 destinations that he chose, but I've got some trade scenarios that I've been looking at that I want to get your opinions on.
Yeah.
So the number one issue I feel like with trying to come up with deals is that Tom Thibodeau, because there's so much young talent you want to send there, but it's like he's not going to.
They're never going to get on the court.
Right. Yep. So I just took that out of the equation, and I was just like, let me look at these deals. So the number one, or the first team that I was looking at, Miami. So you could trade James Johnson and Justice Winslow, and probably a draft pick or something in there for Jimmy Butler. What do you think about Jimmy Butler in Miami?
Man, so him, Dragic, Whiteside. I mean, I guess are they gonna? They gotta start him. But that to me is kind of where it may fall through. It's because who are they to each other?
Right.
How do they really complement each other's game? That's. I would think about it. I'd consider it.
And then you think about it, it's a 1-year deal. Well, I'm just thinking about it from the 1-year standpoint. So you got them for 1 year. Dwayne Wade's still there. You got, they played together in Chicago for a year.
Yeah,
you got
his last season. Yeah.
I feel like with Whiteside, Butler, Josh Richardson, you got something defensively there. And once again, you're in the Eastern Conference, so who knows?
Yeah. No, that team has been playing like they got nothing to lose the past couple of years, and going into the playoffs, I thought going into the season, I thought they'd be, pretty competitive. Coming back this year, I still think they're trying to develop a couple guys, but they're also one of those teams, like you said, a couple pieces away. You don't want to see them in the playoffs.
And Spoelstra's a good coach. I feel like, with that talent, he's going to get, the most out of them. So I think that'd be very intriguing. So another destination, just reaching for the stars, Toronto. Danny Green and Norman Powell.
Really? That will work?
The numbers match up. What do you
They're
think
not
about
giving
that?
that up.
You don't think so? What
For
about
Jimmy?
What about a draft pick in there?
Man, that'd be a tough call.
Because like I said, remember, you're never going to get a full equal amount when you're trading the superstar. So it comes down to, what's the best available offer out there. Man,
if that lands, then, hey, Toronto, go for it, bro. Like, y'all deserve that. But I don't know if Minnesota will bite on that.
I feel like
I like Norman Powell a lot, actually. I've watched him since UCLA and even high school, and the kid can flat out play, but he's not somebody to bet on.
I feel like Danny Green's a Tom
solid
Thibodeau
rotation
player,
guy,
right?
yeah.
And then, like you said, Norman Powell, I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar. I feel like he regressed this year, which was really weird. But like I said, he, like you say, we know he's a guy who's athletic, who has an ability to score in spurts, but he's not a Thibodeau player.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I could see why Minnesota wouldn't do that, but at the same time, if that's an offer out there,
So what would that look like for Toronto? They'd have
Lowry, Jimmy at the 2, Kawhi at the 3, Ibaka at the 4, Valanciunas at the 5, or maybe you say OG Anunoby or Pascal at the 4 and Ibaka at the 5.
Yeah, I think one of those guys might be ready to start this year.
So,
I
like that.
I like that actually.
You got your Corey Josephs and Van Fleets. Is Corey Joseph still there? No, I think he's in Indiana. But your Van Fleets and DeLon Wright's off the bench. So I don't know. It sounds like a fun 2K team.
Man, that's one. Yeah, I gotta think about that. Cause that's a really solid rotation. Both sides of the floor too. So, man, that's not gonna happen.
And the last one that I just went through, Jimmy Butler to Utah for Joe Ingles and Jay Crowder.
Ooh. Now, I think Minnesota would definitely consider that. Ooh.
I think that works for both sides.
That
You
would
got
be
2 tough no defensive
fire.
players for Minnesota,
Mhm.
and then you're talking about Ricky Rubio, Donovan Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, Derek Favors, Gobert.
Yeah.
They're already stout
Yeah.
defensively.
Yeah.
You're just giving
Mhm.
Donovan Mitchell another guy that's going to be able to actually, score with them.
Yeah, the only thing you lose is consistent 3-point shooting. And Jimmy, he can hit.
He'll knock him down.
Yeah, man, that'd be nice, and I think that will work well for Minnesota. Spread the floor definitely. They still have guys that want to stay on the outside, but I think that's actually a good formula for that team. Everybody can shoot, drive, kick. Man, that'd be another really good
So
one.
on the other side, you'd be looking at Jeff T, Wiggins. I guess you go ahead and put Ingles and Crowder 3-4 and Towns at the 5.
Yeah.
That gives you some-
I might not even start Crowder.
well, you still got Taj. but
Yeah,
I
they were
feel
starting
like-
Taj at the 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like the way today's NBA is going.
Yeah.
Well,
Because he's still kind of like your down low defensive
Yeah.
guy.
but I feel like Crowder can fill that purpose. I think
Yeah.
the issue with that team is with the guys like Crowder and Ingles, they don't move the ball enough. Because those guys are going to play tough no defense. They're going to be able to hit the open 2 or open 3s, I should say. But
they're mostly looking to be receivers of a
T's
pass.
not. Wiggins isn't looking for anybody. You
Yeah.
know that for
Yeah.
sure. Not that Towns can't pass, but that's not
Yeah.
the role he's been in.
Yeah.
So I feel like that team with a different coach would do just do wonders.
Yeah, because again, he's not going to try to really put together a working system that complements those guys. It's just going to be keep doing whatever you're doing. That's what. Again, man, that's going to be the nature of Minnesota until he's out of there.
Yeah.
So anybody that is unfortunately traded there, they may want to just try to make that work. Now, in Jimmy's case, I don't think that. Do you think teams are still willing to give up as much for him as they would have, say, 2 years ago? Not like pretty recently.
Yes and no. I say no because obviously we know he's not the player he was 2 years ago. Not to say that he's still not good, but he's not that player. But just the nature of today's landscape, and if you're a team that doesn't have a player like that, you got like Kyle Lowry's making what, $35 million a year. Mike Conley's making 35. Not to say they don't deserve it, but in those markets, they're worth it. So I think for sure, if you're a team like Brooklyn, maybe not so much New York, but the Clippers, you don't have a guy like that.
Yeah, you'll definitely.
You got to
for
do
that.
something just for the fan base to be like, okay, they're putting in the effort, to get us some guys to make it look like we're competing.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's still a business.
It is, man. And regardless of where he ends up, they're gonna be, giving something pretty good up for him. What do you think about the potential of a three-way deal, wherein Boston hops into the mix?
See, I was looking at.
Was there anything available there?
I mean, there is, but it's like, does Boston need him?
Right.
That's the.
Yeah, they want to go down that path.
That's the thing. And then with Boston right now, you can tell they're in a position where it's like, we've got so much young talent that's on cheap contracts. Why trade for, a Jimmy Butler making
Seriously,
$20+ million?
yeah.
Where we've got a Jason Tatum making $5 million.
Seriously,
somewhat doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Any deal? I mean, I'm pretty sure. So from Boston's standpoint, it'd probably be like, hey, we'll give you like a Al Horford or Marcus Morris, and anybody on the other side, anybody that's going to be trading with Boston, especially after how they fleeced them with the Kyrie deal. Like, we went Tatum and Brown.
Yeah,
that's
they're that's a solid.
The way they are right now, like, we're not giving up any one of those those guys, so I don't see it happening. Plus, I feel like Boston's more trying to be in the market for Anthony Davis, but that's another show or topic we will go to and discuss, because they're pretty much set at that wing spot.
Yeah, and I don't see them wanting to. Honestly, I see them just wanting to retain what they have for as long as they can, and that's really what is the kind of up in the air for Boston. Not how can we get better with other guys, but how can we get better as a team? I don't see why a reasonable enough deal wouldn't be considered, though.
Yeah.
Because you still have the potential of a Kyrie leaving, or perhaps even some other guys being considered in the long run. Who knows?
And as an organization, like, I feel like ever since Dwight left LA in free agency, every team kind of looks like, okay, if we have a top, air quotes, if you have a top flight player and he seems like he's disgruntled, you got to trade him before he leaves just to make sure you get something in
right,
return.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to be in a situation where, you lose him and you're back to the drawing board, so you need to get something in return. So like you said, if there are deals out there, they're definitely going to have to consider them, because it just doesn't seem like, they're going to be able to repair.
Yeah, they can't just rest easy. But we'll see.
So, I just got to go back. The Utah deal. Who... 7-game series.
That's probably the best deal, man.
7-game series with the Warriors. How many games do you think they can win?
Okay. So, again, we said Rubio... Mitchell, Butler,
Favors, and
Gobert. Against Steph, Clay, Draymond, Durant, and DeMarcus Cousins.
But you got Gobert.
In a 7-game series, yes. Okay. I would typically just go matchup for matchup, and in this case, I'll just do that. Because obviously Steph Curry has the advantage over most point guards. He beats out Rubio.
It's Steph for sure.
Now, I will give it to Donovan Mitchell. He is going to outplay for his team. He's going to play a bigger role than Clay will. So I'll give that to him. At the 3, that's a toss-up, man. I mean, I think Jimmy offers. I mean, they're both just dual-sided players. They play both ends of the court, bring that intensity and that energy. That's a toss-up. At the 4, I mean, come on.
We don't need to
that's Durant, yes. And at the 5, that's a toss-up. So what is that? That's a couple ties and one for either side.
Yeah.
So who knows, man? That could be a excellent series based on what Utah did alone last year. I'm just excited to see them face anyone. So
I think with that team they could go 7, just because we saw the way Houston played them, and for Houston to be an offensive team all season, and then if you want to call that defense, I feel like it was just a lot of hacking going on.
They played their passing lanes. I mean,
it's playoff defense.
Yeah, right.
But for a team that plays, solid structured defense like Utah, and to add a guy like Jimmy Butler, I think they could definitely.
Yeah, that would take them over the top. Man, just a Jimmy Donovan Mitchell combo is like, that would be just so intense, man.
Make it happen, Utah.
Right, definitely push for something along those lines, because, that team still needs something. Yeah. More, and I'm gonna say they need a player better than Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. They need a leader and somebody that's a champion. So
they won't win now.
Yeah.
Because Donovan Mitchell did what he did, and that's only 1 year. And so who knows where he's gonna go? But
yeah, that's one I might have to go and look back to see what's in the cards there. But yeah, man, there's still a few other teams I could see as a good fit. LA, I'm gonna just throw back out the window. That's too much of a clusterfuck right now. And if you want to stick to the East, I would definitely look at Miami. Maybe even Detroit if you want to try to play that grindstone game.
Him and Blake Griffin, though, you gotta remember Reggie Jackson's still on that team. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Stan Van Gundy could probably figure something out, but Detroit's another one of those. They're like a front office position away from being Sacramento of the East.
Okay.
So I don't.
Did you look at anything for Indiana?
Not really, but I think Indiana's kind of happy where they're at, and the guys they would have to trade would have to be like a Tyler Evans who just signed a deal, so they wouldn't be able to flip him until like December.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think an Oladipo Butler combination would definitely be very interesting. I feel like though, now that I think about it, Jimmy Butler's kind of a half court player. So
definitely.
Indiana's on like a run gun team.
Definitely.
So,
that's where I was a little bit concerned with, because I still can't identify OKC as either a full court or half court team. They seem to play at a high pace in the half court, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Chemistry to me is not as big a factor with a guy like Jimmy, because he's not bringing a ton of ego to a team.
Right.
So it's just a matter of what the formula is to win. And like you said, things are changing so much nowadays. If teams aren't willing to adjust a little bit, then they're going to continue to lose these guys. So.
Right. Well, he says he wants to be traded by Monday, which is media day. So,
all right, we got about 48 hours to see if that happens, man.
I don't know if it's gonna happen, but you guys stay tuned, and we'll recap anything if it happens over the weekend.
All right.